delegated that responsibility as far as I'm concerned. I just went a step further to create multi-agency team to make sure that no gaps are left, including security sector. If that is bad, I take responsibility to doing extra. I went a step further to do extra. It was not really my responsibility. Once I give tax exemption, it is not my duty to go and check. Chairman, I give tax exemptions on imported steel, raw materials used even for road construction. I don't go to the roads to confirm whether they have been, the materials have been used on the roads. There are people who do that. But on this one, and I said it before, on this one, I decided to exercise more caution because I felt if there is, in the event that this sugar is diverted into the market and not used for production or further processing, it would endanger human life. So I don't know what is being said that I have not responded to. I have responded to everything.
Respond for on further. We can't. We shall make our decision if the CS has answered adequately or not, because we can't remain on one particular question forever. He still has more questions to answer.
And Chair,
let him proceed. Yes. Answer the other questions.
No, I think I answered all the questions.
You have answered all.
No, Chair.
Okay.
There was the question about Brazil sugar and South Africa sugar.
I don't think that is what I was looking at. That is for the State Department to deal with, whether sugar came from South Africa, Brazil, or wherever. The law only allows us to.
Chair.
Order.
Chair.
Let's have one person.
Chair, I made reference to a meeting that the CS chaired. And in that meeting that the CS chaired, which minutes he has provided, I think page 3 of 11 of those minutes talk about the sugar being 30,000 metric tons coming from Brazil, expressly waiving the consignment on two parameters, color and polarization. That is a meeting that the CS chaired. And this was submissions by Mombasa Refinery. And finally, in the submissions that were done by the various state agencies, KEBS and KRA included, and where the bone of contention came from was on that particular sugar of Brazil, which was that the sugar of Brazil that had been brought for tests, KRA did not agree with what was provided as being raw sugar, and said they are going to charge normal taxes. And KEBS and SGS gave different opinions as to what that sugar was, whether it was raw or not raw sugar. But that was sugar from Brazil, and that is the meeting you attended. But the sugar currently imported is not sugar from Brazil. It is sugar from South Africa. So I was asking the question about the sugar from Brazil and the sugar from South Africa. If you clear the sugar from Brazil, how about the sugar from South Africa?
You know, Chair, regarding where the sugar was coming from, for me, it is very simple. It didn't matter where the sugar was going to be imported from, but it was mentioned it was Brazil. It was the duty of KEBS, Kenya Sugar Board, to determine all these other parameters. That is why they took the responsibility to monitor and follow where the sugar had come from, how it has landed, how it was going to be used. So it was not really my duty to know what interest would I have had.
Which sugar did you approve, CS? Is it the one which came from South Africa or the one which came from Brazil? It's a direct question.
You see, Chairman, I think we are not communicating. I approved importation of raw sugar, the exemption of duty on raw sugar, regardless of the origin. It is not my duty to find out where they bring the sugar from. What was required was for me to give duty exemption on RDL and IDF on sugar that landed at the port. Where it came from Korea, it was not my business. It was not my duty. Unless there was a reason to ask the origin. of that sugar. But in the meeting, there was a mention that the sugar was from Brazil, and there was a mention of the color. And we discussed the issue of the color in that meeting. And we came to a conclusion that this sugar was raw sugar. And KEBS confirms. KEBS confirms and satisfies quality. Kenya Sugar Board was agreed with them. So what else could I have done as CS National Treasurer? To go and do the test myself?
Chair, allow me not to belabor on this matter, but just to state something, and I would like this to come on record, that the sugar being talked about, whether color or what, was a specific type of sugar that was being talked about. The color of the sugar and the polarization of that sugar was the sugar that was coming from Brazil. And that was the sugar that both KEBS, KRA, and all entities who sat in that meeting made reference to. So, and that is the reason why we are saying, you can approve any other sugar, but the sugar that had the changes and the issues that we're dealing with here was sugar specific, tested from Brazil. But the documentations that have been attached show that this sugar is from South Africa. So meaning the sugar from Brazil had these approvals. What about the sugar from South Africa?
I think, Chair, that is not correct. I think we need to, if you call the relevant ministries here, they will tell you. I think, if I recollect very well, there was the approval to get sugar from Brazil, but they got it from elsewhere. And there was no reason, there was no problem with that, if you ask me. Whether it, so long as the sugar that came was raw sugar, and so long as we could monitor that sugar up to the factory and outside the factory, to me that was the most important thing. And we had put a multi-agency team to deal with that. If this multi-agency team fails us, then we know we have the wrong people there. But it was not for me to go and check whether this is Brazil or South African sugar. That is outside my mandate.
Yes, Kishimo. And Waziri, I asked a specific question on import duty on sugar from Brazil and import duty on sugar from South Africa, which you have not answered. But you'll answer that because it's specific, you'll answer as you answer Kishimo's question. It's a follow-up question.
Maybe you again paraphrase it, Chairman. I don't think we picked it.
What I asked is, or let me repeat, if you import sugar from Brazil, raw sugar from Brazil, what would be the rate of import duty? That if you imported from South Africa, what would be the rate of import duty?
Chair, can I respond to that?
Yeah, response.
Chair, import of sugar would have cost 100% import duty, or $460 per metric ton, if there was no duty remission. On this one, we secured the duty remission in the East African community, and therefore at 10%.
Why I'm asking, I asked from two different countries of origin. Came from Brazil, what would be the duty? From South Africa, what would be the duty?
I think there's no duty difference, Chair, because South Africa and Brazil are outside the East African community and the Commetee. Is South African part of Commetee? I don't think so. So the price would ordinarily, I mean, the duty would ordinarily be the same for the two origins.
That is a simple answer I was looking for. Let's proceed. Now we take another round. Yeah. So I want us to be brief so that we can cover other members who are waiting. So we start from Kishimo, Parashina, Kishimo, then
You had already given me the mic.
Okay, proceed.
So before I lose my my point or line of thought, CS, I really appreciate you for taking the initiative of bringing all the mats for there to be like some coordination in terms of dealing with this raw sugar. And I believe the reason would be because you are faced with an unprecedented issue of importation of raw sugar. And where, in my own research, there existed no regulations on how to deal with the raw sugar. Other sugars, you've never had these kind of things because there are regulations governing. Maybe out of that meeting, did you ensure as the